The iconic images of global climate change show the retreat of glaciers and the melting of the polar ice caps. But the reasons for sea level rise are diverse and complex.
There are two major factors that contribute to rising sea levels. One is simply that warmer water takes up more volume. The second biggie is ice melting off land.
There's a whole array of projections for the end of the century, but some of them go up to as much as 2 meters. The most optimistic projections are only 1 meter. Another major unknown is the rate at which the West Antarctic ice sheet and the Greenland ice sheet will melt.
The climate is changing. It's clear that human activity is playing a role. I think some of the projections of catastrophic warming aren't born in the data. They're based on scenarios that are unlikely to become true. In that regard, yes, we can talk about climate change and the costs and the benefits of a warming world, but at the same time, the fear-mongering is almost just as disingenuous as saying global warming is a hoax.
Climate change is real, and it's caused by human behavior. Our use of fossil fuels and carbon emissions is adding to the warming of the Earth.
The gradual rise in temperatures and sea levels are closely linked to the severity of extreme weather. The accumulation of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere poses a global problem, which no one country can address alone.
The Nobel laureate Bill Nordhaus has put forward some helpful figures. What he's identified is very clearly is that we've moved from a situation where temperatures have risen significantly more in the last few centuries than they did for the last 650,000 years. So the implication is that if we reduce or pivot some of these human-led activities, that you would therefore see a reduction in emissions, and therefore you would see at least a reduction in the degree to which the temperature around the world is actually rising.
We know to achieve the ultimate goal of certainly keeping warming below 2 degrees centigrade, that's going to require upping the ante beyond that 10 or 15-year time period. We're talking about certainly the industrialized countries like the United States looking at 80% kinds of reductions by mid-century.
It's the consensus of the models in this area that a 2-degree target is, at this point, getting very, very difficult to meet, even with maximum efforts. Some of the modeling that's been done in this area would suggest carbon taxes in the $500 to $1,000 or even higher dollars per ton of CO2.
Even if the United States were to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions down to zero or achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions, the climate models project that we would only mitigate global temperatures a few tenths of a degree Celsius by the year 2100, and we would maybe avert a few centimeters of sea level rise over that same time period.